So apparently the title of this episode, A Scare in the Air, had to be changed further down the line after the 9/11 attacks, which is understandable given the circumstances. But the new title they gave it was Spirits in the Sky. How is that any better? That could just as easily be linked to the attacks as the original title. You literally could have called it A Bumpy Blimp Ride and it would have been better. Pokemon, mate, use your noodles. The episode begins with Brock and Misty outside a convenience store trying to figure out how to get to Valencia Island. Sorry, I meant convenience store, apparently. Also, why did Professor Oak send Ash and friends on an errand on Valencia Island without telling them how to get there? I guess common sense just isn't a thing in the Pokemon world. After jizzing in his pants looking at pictures of girls in the Orange Islands guidebook, Brock says,
"Well, now we have to figure out how to get to Valencia Island."
Brock, mate, the narrator just said that. Pay attention. Misty says that she wants to work on her tan. Misty, mate, I hate to break it to you, but you're a ginger. We all know you're gonna go from whiter than white to red lobster in about 3.4 seconds. Listen, I get plot armor's a thing and all that, but this just takes the mick. There's some kind of lottery thing outside the convenience store. Yes, I'm saying convenience store from now on. The grand prize for said lottery is a blimp ride to Valencia Island, which is the exact place Ash and friends are trying to get to and the exact mode of transport they were literally just wishing they could use to get there, since the trip would take one day rather than a month. And it's specifically a trip for 3 people, the exact number of Ash's little group. And what's more, Ash only went and won the bloody grand prize on his first attempt. Pokemon, you might as well have skipped this whole thing and just had Ash say,
"Oh, don't worry, my neighbor owns a blimp that we can borrow."
The absolute piss-taking absurdity of this is off the charts, mate. Jesse, James and Meowth get a call from Giovanni advising them that they are now being transferred to Team Rocket's dirigible division, aka the Blimp Brigade. Giovanni tells them that only special operatives are chosen for this division. Well then why have you chosen Jesse and James? They literally haven't sent you any new Pokemon since we started watching their adventures. They're not special operatives, they're garbage operatives. Oh, okay. Ignore that last WTF moment because it turns out it ain't one. Because the reality is Giovanni's blimps haven't had any repairs in decades and he basically expects them to crash so that he can claim the insurance money. But that means that Jesse and James will most likely die as part of Giovanni's plan. Mate, I know they're crap at their job, but you don't have to kill them. Just fire them like a regular person. Insurance fraud coupled with murder. This is a bit dark for a children's TV show, isn't it? I hate to break it to everyone, but that is not a blimp. Blimps are basically giant fuck-off balloons with no framework inside. But on this airship here, you can definitely see that it has some kind of framework to it, which means that, my friends, is a zeppelin. A couple of nearby engineers are shocked to hear that Ash and friends are actually gonna ride the zeppelin. Apparently, it's so dangerous that everyone says it's haunted by a gang of ghosts. But isn't it those guys' job to fix it? Like if the blimp isn't being looked after, surely it's their fault, right? Guess they're from a different part of the airfield or something? Now, Team Rocket's disguises aren't really a WTF moment. And this, of course, is something that happens a lot in the anime. But how can you even claim that James is in disguise here when literally all he's doing is wearing sunglasses? His hair's the same, his face is the same, he just happens to be wearing shades. Pokemon really want us to have to work to suspend our disbelief in this episode, don't they? Something that isn't hard work, though, is hitting the like button to show that you're enjoying this content and, of course, most importantly, to tell YouTube to push this content out to more people. So do us a favor, tap a cheeky like on the video. Let's see if this one can actually hit 6,000 likes. That'd be beautiful. And of course, don't forget sharing the video on social media helps trick YouTube as well into thinking that it should push this content to more people, as does commenting on the video. And if you can't think of anything to comment, just leave a generic comment like,
"The blimp can't be haunted because Gen 1 doesn't have enough ghost types, lol."
And of course, if you're new here, thank you so much for giving this channel a try and just, tap the subscribe button, turn on all notifications so you never miss an episode of WTF Moments. That'd be cool. Jigglypuff turns up and accidentally releases the zeppelin and gets its foot caught in a rope that's attached to the zeppelin. Mate, the thought of that is just terrifying. Imagine every instinct in your body telling you to wriggle free, and knowing that doing so will send you falling very quickly back down to the ground. But at the same time, knowing that not doing anything means that there's a chance that you could just naturally slip out of the thing that's holding you and then you'd still fall down to the ground. Whew, I pray I am never in a situation like that. Then again, you'd never catch me anywhere near a bloody zeppelin, so I'll be fine. Meanwhile, inside the zeppelin, the floor below Ash collapses and he almost falls through the bottom, which would have meant certain death. Lucky for Ash, he has such quick instincts and such incredible strength that he could just grab the floor and stop himself plummeting to Earth. That's not easy. Ash Ketchum is hench. Pass it on. At dinner time, Brock complains that the soup that Team Rocket have made is ice cold, and James makes the excuse that it's an old Eskimo recipe. The thing is, in a couple of moments, we're going to find out that Meowth is working in the kitchen, which definitely has a stove, so why didn't they just heat up the fucking soup in the first place? I know Jesse and James are stupid, but we've seen them prepare some pretty delicious looking meals in the past, so how did they struggle to make soup warm? After the Zeppelin starts to shift around on its own, Team Rocket realise that there's no one piloting it. Mate, how did they not realise someone needed to be the pilot? Surely if they didn't see any other Team Rocket members around, another point they should have probably questioned, how did they not connect the dots and assign someone to pilot duty? Meowth reads an instruction manual and finds out the Zeppelin has water tanks at the front and back to help stabilize it. And after James then releases some water from the front of the Zeppelin that goes all over Jigglypuff, Jigglypuff gets understandably pissed off and frees itself from being hooked on the rope and is now just holding on with its hands. Jigglypuff has balls of steel and the strength of an ox. Who knew? Absolute hilarity ensues when they realize that James let too much water out of the front, so the front of the Zeppelin goes up. And then he lets too much water out the back, so the back of the Zeppelin goes up. Then, as the same thing is done over and over again, the animators decided to just stop animating the water coming out. So instead, you just get the Zeppelin rocking up and down for seemingly no reason. Don't you just love when animators don't give a toss about actually doing their jobs? Oh no! Now the blimp is heading into a huge storm. You remember when this show was about Pokemon? When James discovers that there's no water left in the front tank, so they can't lift the front of the Zeppelin and therefore fly over the storm, it makes me realize something. We saw Jigglypuff earlier switch from having its foot caught in the rope to holding onto the rope with its hands, but that was before the first lot of water was released. So what you're telling me is that Jigglypuff managed to hold onto the rope with its hands whilst the entire rest of the tank of water was poured out over it. Wow, Jigglypuff really is stronger than it looks. Jigglypuff is a ninja warrior. Pass it on. After the Zeppelin levels out, Ash and friends realize that Togepi is missing. Now I know it's not exactly her fault, but when the Zeppelin was rocking back and forth, watching Togepi, which is effectively her baby, should have been Misty's #1 priority. Then again, this is Misty, who tends to be a massive selfish twat. Whilst they're looking for Togepi, one of the places that Brock looks is inside a brick fireplace. What kind of a Zeppelin has a brick fireplace in it? And is there more than one? Are these in each of like the guest rooms? Surely that's just asking for trouble and is just extra unnecessary weight. I really think this Jigglypuff needs to see a doctor. This is twice in the episode it's had hallucinations of microphones and stages that just aren't there. This time, the daft twat thought a candlestick was a microphone and that the tablecloth was the stairs to the stage. Jigglypuff, you need professional help, mate. We're only saying this because we love you. And now it's trapped under the tablecloth, and no doubt some idiot is gonna think it's a ghost. I mean, here's a crazy idea, Jigglypuff. How about taking the tablecloth off your head? Alright, firstly, how did Jigglypuff, with tablecloth on head, manage to get this deep into the Zeppelin so quickly? Its vision is supposedly hindered, but it managed to catch up with Ash and friends. That's insane. Or just stupid. Secondly, why didn't one of these idiots just Scooby-Doo the ghost and pull the tablecloth off of Jigglypuff?
Actually, Liam, I think you'll find Ash and friends probably thought Jigglypuff was a real ghost because children are quite stupid, really.
I'll agree with you, kids are stupid, but this stupid? Come on. Like I was a kid once, a long time ago, and I did stupid things like stick my fingers in a mousetrap to see if it actually did hurt, and even I wouldn't have been dumb enough to think that a tablecloth was a ghost. Okay, this instance I can kind of forgive, because Jigglypuff jumps while wearing the sheet, and because it's so lightweight, it kind of floats in the air for quite a considerable amount of time. So that does kind of look like some haunted kind of shtick. But again, Team Rocket are on the upper level of this room, so how did Jigglypuff get from the lower level to the stairs, up the stairs, and then behind Team Rocket so quickly? Apparently this Jigglypuff just has an array of superpowers that we didn't know about. I have a superpower, you know. It's called Code Ace, and it has the power to save you money off G Fuel. Today I'm once again drinking Maiden's Blood, one of the brand new flavors. It's watermelon, it's lychee, and it's pear, and it's bloody beautiful. Oh, that is a banger. Use code ACE, save yourself 10% on your G Fuel order, and tell them Liam sent you. Remember though, G Fuel is for over 18s only because children don't need caffeine. They're annoying enough as it is. Why would you put caffeine in your children, you bloody idiot? But if you're over 18 and can order G Fuel because it contains caffeine, just drink it responsibly. Don't be a dickhead. Direct quote from Ash.
This whole blimp must be full of ghosts.
Give over, mate. You've seen one unconvincing ghost and now you're going to assume it's full of them? You're making shit up at this point, mate. Pipe down. Ahaha, Meowth said that's fright instead of that's right because everybody's scared of the ghost that they think they saw. Peak comedy right there from the Pokemon writing department. Good lord. Can you tell I'm struggling for WTF moments this episode? Nothing fucking happens. After Meowth tells Ash and friends, oh wait, that's a fucking spider. That's a spider. No. Oh no. There's nothing to catch it in. After Meowth tells Ash and friends of Team Rocket's intentions to steal Pikachu, since being a mile off the ground means no escape, Jessie and James suggest making things a little more interesting. Oh god, please do, because this episode has me bored shitless and there's only like 7 minutes left. Hey, they can't all be winners. Jessie sends out Arbok and tells it to use Bite, but Ash jumps in with Pikachu and tells Pikachu to use Thundershock. But because this is a zeppelin and not a blimp, that means there's metal framework inside, which of course conducts electricity, which means that everybody gets shocked. Now normally this is where I'd call Ash a numpty, but in his shoes, this is something I don't think I would have considered. Wait, am I on Ash's side for once? I must be ill. Direct quote from Misty.
Ash, you can't use shock attacks in a blimp.
He's not. He's using shock attacks in a zeppelin. That's arguably worse, isn't it? Brock sends out Geodude to battle James's wheezing, and oh my god, I never realised how creepy Geodude's hands are. Mate, they're horrible. Bearing in mind they're flying in what is effectively a giant balloon, Geodude, in its infinite wisdom, throws wheezing so hard it tears a hole in the zeppelin. What do we think? Was this a moment of absent-minded stupidity on the part of Geodude? Or is Geodude just pissed off that he doesn't get used much and did this deliberately? Answers on a postcard. Direct quote from Brock.
Look, the storm's gonna tear the whole blimp apart.
Firstly, zeppelin. Secondly, nah mate, not gonna cut it. We know this is all your Geodude's fault. You are not about to blame this on the storm. Stop trying to cover up for your Pokemon's obvious blunder. Obviously, you've got to wonder how Togepi got up there in the first place, but you also have to wonder why it's up there. Like, sure, it adds suspense and peril and all that, and I understand that, but as a character, what's Togepi getting out of this? Does it like the attention, or does it genuinely just get a kick out of seeing Misty in distress? Ash tries to stop Misty climbing up the ladder to the beam where Togepi is, which is conveniently the one beam that has a ladder to it, and Misty suggests that Ash send out Bulbasaur, who can use its Vine Whip to help Misty keep her balance. I mean, couldn't Bulbasaur just reach up with its vines and grab Togepi, like it always does? Would that not be easier? Meowth tries scaling some bars to try and get to Pikachu, but when the storm clears and sunlight starts shining in through the holes in the zeppelin, Meowth loses his grip and starts hanging by one paw. And of course, he begins to panic. I don't know why he's panicking though. Wheezing floats. Like, James could just send out Wheezing to help Meowth down. Probably wouldn't even take that much effort, so even after being knocked out by Geodude, I reckon Wheezing could probably pull it off. Pull it off. Oh look, it's Jigglypuff, who has somehow managed to free itself from under the tablecloth all by itself, just like it could have done all along. I wouldn't even fault Misty right now if she just punted it out of the zeppelin. It'd probably float to the ground anyway, so it'd be a laugh. Mate, is Jigglypuff the Pokemon equivalent of one of those airflow footballs? Mate, do you remember those? Just one little tap would send those things to the moon and back. They're amazing. The zeppelin shakes and this causes Team Rocket to all fall out and start heading for the ground. But luckily, Meowth manages to grab a little piece of the zeppelin and tear it off and make it into a makeshift parachute. Moments later, Jigglypuff lands on top of it. Wait, does this mean Misty did actually punt Jigglypuff out of the zeppelin? Mate, Misty's a savage. Jigglypuff sings and puts Team Rocket to sleep, which means that they all lose their grip and let go of the parachute and they all fall towards the ocean. Mate, they're dead. There is no way that they're not dead if they fell a mile from the sky into the ocean. You can die from falling like a quarter of that high. Like, that water would have been like concrete on impact. This just means that somehow, some way, the plot armor in this episode is even stronger than we imagined. Guys, if you want to protect the characters so much, why even bother writing an episode? Okay, Bulbasaur, she's back on the floor now. You can let go of the girl's bare midriff. Bulbasaur, that's enough, mate. You can let go now. Bulbasaur, it's been an uncomfortably long amount of time now. You could probably let go. Well, it turns out Bulbasaur is a nonce. Pass it on. Misty tells Togepi not to wander off like that again, and Togepi responds, as you'd expect, with but it kind of sounds more like,
Bitch, I do what I want.
when Gas starts escaping from the Zeppelin, Brock suggests that they all send out their Pokemon so they can use their weight to try and help steer the Zeppelin. Brock instantly calls Onyx back, claiming it's too heavy. Mate, Onyx weighs 436 pounds. That's like the weight of 3 adults. 3 small adults at that. You're trying to tell me this Zeppelin can't handle the weight of 3 more adults? Bearing in mind that 2 adults just fell out the fucker. Mate, when they said this Zeppelin was crap, they really meant it, didn't they? Oh god, even more Zeppelin tilting humor. I get it. For a 7-year-old watching this, the intended audience, it's probably hilarious. But bloody hell, this is hard to watch back as an adult. It's just not funny. It's weird to find a type of comedy that I've actually grown out of. See? I'm not completely immature. When the blimp hits the ground, it turns this creamy beige color for no reason. I guess the animators were as bored as I am at this point, so they just stopped paying attention. Not gonna lie, I bloody hate that the airport they crashed at was Valencia Island Airport. Like, when they set off, there was no pilot. After Team Rocket fiddled with the water tanks a bit, there was still no pilot. During the fighting and the torn Zeppelin lining and the gas leaking, there was still no pilot. Yet somehow, Brock and Misty managed to navigate the Zeppelin and make it crash land somewhat safely in the exact location on an island that it was supposed to all along. Mate, there is plot armor and then there's just absolute bollocks. Tell me which one you think this is. Does anyone else find it weird that they changed the title of this episode later down the line to be more sensitive to the people affected by 9/11, but not a single shit was given about the people affected by the Hindenburg disaster? Like, I get it, with Hindenburg only 36 people died, but that's still 36 people, isn't it? Still, it doesn't matter because, like I said, they still changed the title to something fucking stupid that could still be linked to the same thing they were trying to not link to. Also, if there was an airport on Valencia Island anyway, why didn't they just fly there by plane? And I know early in the episode they said they didn't have enough money to go on a blimp ride, so that would mean that they didn't have enough money to go on a plane ride, but if it's Oak's errand, shouldn't he have fronted the money? In fact, why didn't Oak just organise their transport in the first place? Then this entire shitty episode could have been avoided. No, but seriously, this episode was just bad. It's downright boring, bugger all happens. Unless you're interested in dirigibles, then there's probably not a lot you get out of this episode. And as a result, this episode might be quite short, so to that I say, not my fault. So those are my WTF moments of Pokemon Season 2, Episode 2, A Scare in the Air, or Spirits in the Sky. Let me know your favourites and any that I missed down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Head to twitch.tv/AceTrainerLiam for all of my live streams and use code ACE for money off G Fuel. But until next time, I'm Ace Trainer Liam. Keep on training.